Hello guys, today we are going to discuss the Article 370 of the Constitution of India, its history, key feature, recent developments and way forward. So let's get started. Now, to understand the historical development of Article 370, we first need to understand the key personalities involved in it. The first key personality is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who is obviously representing India. Second key personality is Muhammad Ali Jinnah, representing Pakistan. Sheikh Abdullah, leader of the masses, who wanted the popularly elected government in Jammu and Kashmir. Maharaja Hari Singh, ruler of princely state of Jammu and Kashmir. Ramchandra Kak, prime minister of Hari Singh, who advised him neither to accede to the dominion of India or Pakistan. Now take a small look at the geography of the Kashmir. Now this green region here shows the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, which is illegally occupied by Pakistan and currently in control of Pakistan. Now this yellow region shows Askai Chin, which is illegally occupied by China. Now this blue region here shows Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh region, which is in control of Indian state. Coming to the historical developments. Now our independence came with the pain of partition. We accepted the Mountbatten Plan of 3rd June 1947, as a result of which the country was divided into India and Pakistan on the basis of religion. There were 562 princely states in the present day India, which were free to join either the dominion of India and Pakistan. Thanks to our leaders and their tactics and strategies, all of them joined except 3 states, Junagadh, Hyderabad and Jammu and Kashmir. Now why only Jammu and Kashmir proved to be troublesome? The key factors or the key events that led to the troublesome situation in Kashmir are location and strategic importance, two-nation theory, standstill agreement and tribal invasion. Now we are going to discuss them one by one in further slides. Now the first point is the location and strategic importance. See, Hyderabad and Junagadh were inside the Indian border, so it was relatively easy for India to make them join the Indian Union. However, J&K shares border with Pakistan, so it became tough for us to deal there, and the strategic importance of Kashmir further worsened the situation. See, J&K physically connects us with Afghanistan and it is the northernmost part of India. So if we don't have J&K in control, our northern front will be unguarded, and it is also a source of important perennial rivers. So whosoever have J&K in control will control the policies such as Indus Water Treaty and all. Now the second point is two-nation theory, as the partition of country occurred on the basis of religion, because Jinnah thought that the Muslims should need to have a separate nation. On the contrary, India choose to be secular and every religion can live here. So if Kashmir doesn't go to the Pakistan, the very essence of the existence of Pakistan or the formation of Pakistan will be violated. On the other hand, if it doesn't come to India, our secular stand will be violated. This led to the conflict. Now coming to the standstill agreement, Maharaja Hari Singh said that he would not accede to either India and Pakistan and will remain independent, but he will allow free movement of goods and people across his border. As a result of which he proposed a standstill agreement which was signed by Pakistan, but India refused. Due to which Pakistan started applying pressure. It stopped rail lorry services through which the essential supplies reached the state. Furthermore, Pakistan accepted the Junagadh accession, as a result of which Sardar Patel said that Kashmir has to be the part of India. See, in Junagadh the situation was opposite. In Kashmir there was Muslim majority and the ruler was a Hindu minority, whereas in Junagadh the ruler was Muslim minority, whereas the people there were Hindu majority. So when Pakistan accepted the instrument of accession of Junagadh, it further worsened the situation, and Sardar Patel said that the Kashmir has to be the part of India, which further deepened the conflict. Now coming to the tribal invasion. See, after partition a lot of communal carnage happened in Punjab and it reached Kashmir in September 1947. Now there is a district in Kashmir, Poonch district, which wanted to be free from Brogras and decided to join the Pakistan. So as a result of which a lot of communal atrocities happened there. Now several armed Pathan tribesmen invaded Kashmir, massacred hundreds of people, and within days they covered Muzaffarabad, Baramulla and Uri. And basically the whole war-like scenario was created. As a result of which, Maharaja Hari Singh acceded to India for help and signed the instrument of accession. Now after that, the Indian Army was airlifted on October 26, 1947, and within 2 weeks, they recaptured the territory till Muzaffarabad. After that, the war has to be stopped due to winters. Now all these events led to the development of two important events. First event is India-Pakistan War of 1948 and second is Article 370. In this video, we will discuss the Article 370. Now to understand the Article 370, we need to understand the instrument of accession. Now the instrument of accession was signed between Maharaja Hari Singh and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru on October 26, 1947 after the tribal invasion. Now under this, the state surrendered only three subjects: defense, external affairs and communications. Furthermore, Government of India also made a commitment that the people of the state through their own constituent assembly will determine the internal constitution of the state. That is, they are not bound to accept the constitution of India. They can have their own constitution, and according to which the administration of the state will be governed. As a result of which the Article 370 was incorporated and became operative on 17 November 1952. Now we will discuss the important provisions of Article 370. Now the first important provision of Article 370 is that the provision of Article 238, which was omitted in 1956 by 7th Constitutional Amendment Act in the wake of the State Reorganization Act, should not apply to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. See, the provision of Article 238 deals with the administration of Part B states, and Jammu and Kashmir was classified as a Part B state in the original constitution of 1950. Now, the Article 238 was put in Part 7, which was amended in 1956 by 7th Constitutional Amendment Act for the reorganization of states. So the provisions of the Article 238 apply to all the states except the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now coming to the second provision. It says that the power of the Parliament to make laws for the state is limited to those matters in Union List and the concurrent list which correspond to the matters specified in the state's instrument of accession. These matters are to be declared by President in consultation with the state government. Basically, the original instrument of accession classified the matters under four heads. The first one was defense, second one was external affairs, third one was communication, and fourth one was ancillary matters. So the subjects that relate to these matters only can be taken up by the Parliament for the lawmaking in consultation with the state government. Now the second provision under it is such other matters of the Union List which are specified by the President in concurrence with the state government. Now these two provisions sounds more or like same. So to sum up these, that the laws can be made only on the matter with the consent of the state of J&K. That is, if the Legislative Assembly of the Jammu and Kashmir does not want a law to be made on a particular subject, it cannot be made by the Parliament. Now coming to the third provision. It says that the provision of Article 1 and Article 370 are applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the provision of Article 1 is that it declares the India as union of states and its territory. It tells about the federal structure of the India, that India is a federation of different states and defines their territory. Also, it says that the Article 370 is also applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. That is, the provision of both Article 1 and Article 370 apply to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now coming to the fourth provision. The other provision of the Constitution can be applied to the state with such exception and modification as specified by the President in consultation with the state government or with the concurrence of the state government. Suppose Parliament passes any law which is applied to all the states, but to apply that law in Jammu and Kashmir, the consent of the state government of Jammu and Kashmir is necessary. If they say no, the law cannot be applied to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now coming to the fifth provision of the Article 370, it is one of the most important provision of the Article 370. It deals with the revocation of the Article 370. It says that the President can declare Article 370 ceases to be operative or operates with exceptions and modification. However, this can be done by the President only on the recommendation of the Constituent Assembly of the state. That is, the Article 370 can be revoked or modified only by the recommendation of the Constituent Assembly of the state. Mark my word, Constituent Assembly of the state, not the Legislative Assembly of the state. Now coming to the relationship between Jammu and Kashmir and India. Now in pursuance of the provisions of Article 370, the President issued an order called the Constitution Application to Jammu and Kashmir Order 1950 to specify the Union's jurisdiction over the state. It is basically an order that gives effect to the provisions of Article 370. The provisions of the Article 370 are not directly implemented in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, but they are implemented by a presidential order which specify that how much control the union government has over the state. Now this is the basic order that is amended and modified from time to time to regulate the constitutional position of the state and its relationship with the union. It was subsequently modified in 1954, 1963, 1964, 1965, 1966, 1972, 1974 and last time in 1986. Now coming to the key features of the Constitution Application to Jammu and Kashmir Order at present. Now, the first provision is that the state of Jammu and Kashmir has its place in Part 1 and Schedule 1 of the Constitution of India. The Part 1 and Schedule 1 of the Constitution of India deals with the Union and its territory, but its name, area or boundary cannot be changed by the Union government without the consent of the legislature of the Jammu and Kashmir. Alright. So now moving on to the second provision. The state of Jammu and Kashmir has its own constitution and is administered according to that. So part 6 of the constitution dealing with the state government is not applicable to the Jammu and Kashmir. Now the residuary power belongs to the state of Jammu and Kashmir except in few matters like prevention of terrorist act, questioning or disrupting the territorial integrity of India, causing insult to the national flag, national anthem and the Constitution of India. Now the residuary power belongs to union government for all other states of India, but in case of Jammu and Kashmir it belongs to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now moving on to the next provision. Now part 3 dealing with the fundamental rights is applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Right to property is still guaranteed in the state along with certain special rights. See, the right to property is ceases to be fundamental right for the rest of India by 44th Amendment Act of 1978. Now moving on to the next key feature of the presidential order. It says that part 4 dealing with the directive principle of the state policy enshrined in the Constitution of India and part 4a dealing with the fundamental duties is not applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now the state of Jammu and Kashmir have their own sets of directive principle of the state policy and they do not follow the directive principle of the state policy given in the Indian Constitution. The provision says that a national emergency declared on the ground of internal disturbance will have no effect in the state except with the concurrence of state government. However, an emergency declared on the ground of war or external aggression is directly applicable. That means an emergency declared on the ground of internal disturbance will have to be declared with the consent of the state government. But however, an emergency declared on the ground of war or external aggression does not need the consent of the state government and is directly applicable. Now the next provision says that the state emergency or precedent rule can be imposed in the state on the ground of failure of constitutional machinery under the provision of the state constitution and not Indian Constitution. Now in other states, the state emergency is imposed on the ground of failure of constitutional machinery according to the provision of Indian Constitution. But since Jammu and Kashmir have their own constitution, so the state emergency is imposed under the provisions of J&K Constitution and not the Indian Constitution. In fact, two types of emergency can be declared: President rule under the Indian Constitution and Governor's rule under the state constitution. Now the next provision says that the special leave jurisdiction of Supreme Court and the jurisdiction of Election Commission, Comptroller and Auditor General are applicable to the state. That means that their order are binding on the state government and they cannot supersede their order. Now moving on to the next provision, it says that the High Court of J&K can issue writs only for the enforcement of fundamental rights and not for any other purpose, whereas the High Court of other state can issue writs for other purpose as well, but the High Court of Jammu and Kashmir can issue writs only for the enforcement of fundamental rights. Now the next provision deals with the citizenship. It is one of the most controversial provision under Article 370. It says that the provision of Part 2 regarding the denial of citizenship to the migrants of Pakistan are not applicable to the permanent resident of J&K. Now, if a permanent resident of J&K migrates to Pakistan and return to the state for resettlement, then the person is deemed to be the citizen of India, whereas this provision is not applicable to other states. Now coming to the recent development. Now a PIL was filed in 2015 and it has requested the court to quash Article 370 and make all laws applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir which are applicable to other state. It also sought the removal of the words except Jammu and Kashmir. See, when any law is passed in our constitution, it is written that it applies to all the state except the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So the PIL seek to remove these words except Jammu and Kashmir from all the laws. It also said that Article 370 begins by saying temporary provisions, so means it had to go after some time. Now the response of the High Court of Jammu and Kashmir on that was, it said that the Article 370 is now a permanent provision as the mechanism provided under Clause 3 of the Article 370 is no more available. Now the mechanism given under Clause 3 of Article 370 says that the President can declare Article 370 ceases to be operative only on the recommendation of the Constituent Assembly of the state. But the Constituent Assembly of the state dissolved in 1958. The body exists no more. So the High Court of Jammu and Kashmir says that it is now permanent provision of the Constitution. Now this was the story till 2015. Now in 2016, for the first time, the Supreme Court said that Article 370 can be amended under Article 368 as it is not the basic structure of the Constitution. Now in the Keshavananda Bharti case in 1973, the Supreme Court said that the basic structure of the Constitution cannot be altered. Since Article 370 does not comprise of the basic structure of the Constitution, it can be amended by the Parliament. Now coming to the next point. It is a question that needs to be answered. Consequences of revoking Article 370 right now. Now the situation in Kashmir is fragile right now as the protest is going on, and furthermore the cross-border state-sponsored terrorism is even worsening the situation. If it is now revoked, the separatists will have one more strong agenda. See, the youth of the Kashmir is already deviated by them, so this strong agenda will make the protest more violent, and with that pressure it might lead to plebiscite. The state government might side up with the separatists as their power will be sucked up with the revoking of Article 370. So they might swing to the side of separatists, as a result of which we have to use coercive action against them. We might have to arrest them, due to which the feeling of alienation will be generated in the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Now with that coercive action, our fault line will occur, which can be exploited by China and Pakistan in future, as done in case of Crimea by Russia. What happened there was, Crimea was essentially part of Ukraine, but due to the coercive action and other policies by Ukraine government, a feeling of alienation was generated in the people of Crimea. So when Russia got a chance, it annexed Crimea from Ukraine. The situation in Kashmir is much more worse than what was in Crimea. So if we revoke Article 370 now, coercive action will be needed, and most probably we could lose Jammu and Kashmir forever. Now example of Sikkim. Till 1974, Sikkim was not a complete part of India. From 1947 to 1974, Sikkim was a protectorate of India. In 1974, the state was in peaceful condition. Also, the people showed willingness for greater association with India, as a result of which it was incorporated in India by 35th Amendment Act. But the situation in Kashmir is violent and more worse. So right now we cannot take any measure as done in the case of Sikkim. Now to sum this up, the situation in Kashmir is fragile, and at this point it seems to have reached an impasse. Revocation of the Article 370 is not possible at this time. The government and people of Kashmir have to come up with more innovative solution to deal with it in future. Right now, maintaining the status quo is the need of the hour. So that's it from my side. Thank you for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe to our channel for more videos. Thank you.